Arsenal return to Champions League action tomorrow evening with a game against Athletic Bilbao, but will Mikel Arteta continue to rotate his side in the absence of key players and with massive games coming up, including Manchester City and Newcastle? I'm going to get into a lineup prediction today and preview everything you need to know about Athletic Bilbao before the game on Tuesday night, so stick around with me. This is Arsenal Unfiltered. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Arsenal Unfiltered, your 3 times a week dose of Arsenal coverage with me, your host Mark. Yeah, like we said, Athletic Bilbao coming up. It feels like we've only just finished with the Nottingham Forest game and we have another game coming up. That is going to be how it is for the next few months. We have got so many games coming with the return of the Champions League, with the return of the League Cup, so it's exciting. I'm excited to watch a lot of Arsenal, but we are going to be busy as fans. We start with a game against Athletic Bilbao, away at Athletic Bilbao, I should say. Before I get started, welcome to all of our listeners from Australia. We've got a lot of listeners from Australia this month, so that's really exciting. I always marvel at international fans, but especially the Australians. They are getting up in the middle of the night to watch these games, so well done to you and welcome. Glad to have you here, as I am glad to have everyone here. Like I said, I'm going to go through everything you need to know about Athletic Bilbao and then go through the chunkiest bit of this podcast, predict the lineup, because I think it's going to be an interesting one. How will Mikel Arteta use his far deeper squad now that we've got a game against Manchester City coming up? We've got Newcastle just on the horizon. Really key Premier League games coming up. So I will go through that position by position. Before we get started on Athletic Bilbao, I just want to say a massive thank you for being here. And if you enjoy being here and you want to not just listen to this match preview episode, but hear my instant reaction and the match review episode, make sure wherever you get your podcasts from, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, even if you're on YouTube, go and hit follow or subscribe. It really makes a big difference. And make sure you do not miss a single episode of Arsenal Unfiltered. Okay. Athletic Bilbao then, they have just lost their first game of the season, their first defeat of the season to Alaves in their last game. They lost 1-0. Before that, they were picture perfect. They beat Sevilla, Real Betis and another team to have 9 points from 9, but obviously the recent defeat is a real disappointment for them. Interestingly, that's put them quite high in La Liga and they've had a really positive start, but I'm not sure. I'm going to hold my hands up. I'm not a big La Liga watcher. Every so often I'll throw the El Clasico on, but I am a Premier League watcher. So it's not like I know Athletic Bilbao in and out, but I thought it was interesting that within their 3 wins, they'd had 2 penalties. There was a 1-0 win. I'm not sure this is quite the outfit that is going to go all the way in that top echelon of the table. You will recognise some names in their squad though. Ernesto Valverde is the manager, used to be at Barcelona. Nico Williams, he is injured, but obviously a name that Arsenal were linked with for so long to address our wide position issues. We obviously went with Madueke and Eze, and I think everyone's very pleased that we got 2 English lads in. Really connects the club with the national team, which is fantastic. And I think there were always questions about Nico Williams' work rate, which with Eze and Madueke, you just cannot question that. They look like they are ready to run through brick walls for Mikel Arteta, so that's fantastic. His brother, of course, Inaki Williams, he is a player that has had a really strong career at Athletic Bilbao. And of course, Aymeric Laporte, who has just joined them from Saudi. I don't believe he's played any minutes yet. I think he was unveiled at the end of the last game. Will he to start? A player we know well. And to be fair, a player that I have rated in the past. I really don't know his condition at the moment. Again, I'm not watching a lot of the Saudi League. I really don't know how he's played out there. But he was an excellent player at Manchester City. So if he is on the pitch and if he is ready and fit enough to start against us, I'd be really interested to see how he plays up against Victor Gyökeres, of course. I was looking for interesting stats about Athletic Bilbao and struggled to find anything about their La Liga campaign so far. The one thing that I did find that I thought was quite interesting is that they are third in crosses per 90, which for me, I think is actually quite a good thing. They're crossing the ball a lot, but not having much aerial duel success. I don't think this is a huge team. I think this is a classic Spanish team with lots of kind of small technical players in there. A player that I have found that we need to watch out for is, I'm going to try it, this is going to be difficult, Berenguer. He has as many chances created this year as Nico Williams, who we know is their big threat. But he also has 2 big chances created as well. So he has been on good form so far this season in La Liga. And look, this is a team that came 4th in La Liga last year. I've said this in many Champions League preview episodes past in the past season about how in the Champions League no game is an easy game. None. But I think for me, La Liga is a league where there is such a steep drop-off from Real Madrid, Barcelona and Atletico Madrid that you can look at some of these other clubs and maybe consider, well, I think probably that fourth team in Spain is never going to be quite as strong as the other 3 that you might face in the Champions League. So I think Athletic Club are not one to underestimate. That's my opinion. I think they have clearly got some quality players. They've got a very smart, switched-on manager, and they are going well again this year. Obviously, a disappointing result in their last game. They're not one to underestimate, but I also don't look at their team. I don't look at their recent results and think, oh wow, we've got a problem here. You know, usually when it's Champions League game, you'll kind of check in with the other team, and I want to have a really good look and try and figure out, okay, well, what about them do we need to worry about? And to be honest, you look at recent Athletic Club lineups, and I'm sure it's a good team, but I'm not staring at it panicked. And that's not to underestimate them, but I'm just not looking at their team and thinking, oh, I've heard of that guy and know about him. You know, Berenguer looks like a good player. He can play anywhere basically across that front 4. He has played up front this year. He's played in the 10, and he's played off the right wing and scored a goal from the right wing as well. They play a classic 4-2-3-1. It's a very what's the word? It's a team where I think they are probably a very well coached team. I think they are a good system team, but I'm not looking at it as if it's full of stars. Of course, with Nico Williams out, that is their big star gone. You will, of course, I forgot to mention this player in the names that you will know, Unai Simon. We've seen him play for Spain as the number 1. He's a good keeper, so we'll need to keep an eye out for that. And Gyökeres versus Simon will be interesting, just as Gyökeres versus Laporte, if he's fit enough to start, will be interesting. But for me, doing my research this morning, this is not a squad that I'm looking at and thinking, we have got real problems here. And of course, they just had a pretty poor result. And we're coming off a big win. So that's something we have to remember that goes in our favour. We are away from home, of course. And the Bilbao Stadium, as I understand it, is quite a lovely stadium. We are going to have to deal with a lot more heat. I believe it's very hot in Spain at the moment. And it's gonna be an interesting match. It's great to be back in the Champions League. I absolutely love the Champions League games. I really do. I think it's so much fun for us to be back in this tournament. It was such a long, terrible time outside of it, and to go to places like, I'm going to say it, the San Mamés Stadium, which is not the biggest or most well-known stadium in Europe, but it looks to be a hell of an atmosphere and a hell of an environment. To be able to go there is really, really exciting, and I hope the guys rise to that challenge. So, in summary about Athletic Bilbao, they've had a good start, but a little slip in their last game. They're missing their star player, Nico Williams, and it looks like they are a good side, but the 4th team in Spain can often feel like quite a significant drop-off in comparison to playing Barcelona and Real Madrid. So I think we should have plenty, and I'm hoping that we go and show our quality, show our dominance in this game. When I come back after the break, I'm going to do a position-by-position lineup prediction. Sorry to interrupt everyone, but I just have a really short favour to ask you. At the moment, Arsenal Unfiltered is doing 3 episodes per match. We're doing a match preview episode like the one you're listening to right now, an instant reaction right after kickoff, and a match review episode the day after each game. And I'm really enjoying producing this content for you. And if you're enjoying listening to it, if I could just ask that you go and leave a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts from, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, it really, really helps other Arsenal fans find the podcast and make sure we can keep growing this community. So thank you so much in advance. Let's get back to the episode. Hello and welcome back to this episode of Arsenal Unfiltered. In the first half you heard my light touch preview of Athletic Bilbao. It's not a team I know a lot about, so I had to do some research this morning to learn about them, to learn about their threats. And I just think I'm quite confident. I'm quietly confident. So let's predict the team that I think are going to go out to face Athletic Bilbao and the team that are going to be selected by Mikel Arteta. I'm going to go deep dive into position by position. Let's start in goal. You know, you might be looking at this game and thinking this is the first time that Kepa might have a shout. I think with it being the first Champions League game and us wanting to get off to a good start, I think it's quite unlikely that we will see Kepa in goal. I think David Raya will continue, and the first time we will see Kepa is almost certainly in the Port Vale game, which is basically a week and a day after the Athletic Club game. I think we are more likely to see Kepa in the Champions League games when we're at home as well, just because we got that added advantage. So maybe at Olympiacos, very unlikely to be at home at Atletico Madrid, and maybe you start to see them as we go into the away at Slavia Prague, away at Club Brugge. We might see him through those games as well, and of course, depending on the League Cup game, we might see more Kepa through there, but I do not think we will be seeing him in this game at all. So we will go with David Raya in goal. Right back's an interesting one. Jurrien Timber has been absolutely brilliant, hasn't he? I mean, he has probably been not my player of the year so far, but like sneaky pick of like, you know, he is a player that we really, really have to value and should value. But I think Ben White will be back. He was back in training. He was on the bench for Nottingham Forest. So I think he will be back and play this game to give Jurrien Timber a rest. He's played so much football. And look, for Ben White to be your backup right back at the moment, what a position that is to be in. He is a terrific player. Hopefully he can... Well, he's got fit. Hopefully he can stay fit now. So back in training, he was on the bench. I expect to see him start against Athletic Club. It could be really, really interesting to see how he gets on and how he looks physically. I think, again, with this being an away game, I don't think Mikel Arteta will want to do a full rotation. So I think it's likely that we see Mosquera and Gabriel continue at centre-back. Again, Saliba, you might think, well, he was nearly fit enough. That was the comments from Arteta, nearly fit enough, but we didn't want to risk him against Forest. Why would we risk him against Bilbao? I don't see that happening. I think they'll continue to keep him on ice until the Manchester City game and bring him back to deal with Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland, who looked absolutely sensational yesterday against Manchester United. So one to watch for our next game. That could be a real issue for us. He'll keep Gabriel in. I can't see him bringing Hincapié in at that spot yet. Again, debuts away from home, I think it's really tricky to do, so I don't think he'll be doing that. And he'll want to keep his kind of captain figure in that back four. So Ben White, Mosquera, Gabriel so far. And then you've got 3 choices at left back. Continue with Calafiori, bring Hincapié in. Like I just said, I don't think he'll do that. Or Miles Lewis-Skelly returns to the side. And I think that is an absolute... Yes, let's bring Miles Lewis-Skelly in. This is a great game for Miles Lewis-Skelly. He's got so much experience already at dealing with away atmospheres, hostile atmospheres. He will be very, very comfortable at Atletico Madrid. And I think with Calafiori's injury record and as well how well he's playing, I think we want to make sure we're protecting him and making sure that he gets rests when he needs them and he's ready, again, for games like City, for games like Newcastle, because he's playing fantastically. So we need to protect his fitness, keep him fresh, ready and available. So, look, it's massive. So it's massive we keep our players fit as much as we can. We're already suffering with injuries. I think it will be Miles Lewis-Skelly at left back. Centre mid is a really, really interesting one because Zubimendi's played a lot of football. Rice has played a lot of football. They've both been in basically every game. Rice got a little rest against Nottingham Forest, of course. He played from the 68th minute onwards. Zubimendi basically played the whole game. So it'll be interesting to see, does he rotate that too ahead of the Manchester City game? Or is he happy that Rice has had his rest and that's what we need? I think he'll look to give Zubimendi a rest. I do. Because he's got Mikel Merino, who he knows he's not going to play against Manchester City, or he's not going to start against Manchester City, I should say. So I think it's quite likely that we see Rice in the middle, with Merino and Nwaneri in front of him. Again, I don't think he's going to risk Ødegaard after his shoulder injury. He rates Merino. Merino's playing well. He played well against Forest. I think he will continue to pick him in that spot. And that will allow Zubimendi to have a break, have a rest, sit down for a bit. And of course, with Norgard being back in training, it might be that Norgard is on the bench and can then, if we can get ahead at 60 minutes, come on for Declan Rice. And all of a sudden, Rice and Zubimendi have not played 90 minutes for a week. They are fresh for the Manchester City game to deal with the threat of Phil Foden, who looked good again in the Manchester United game yesterday against Man City, of course. And Tijjani Reinders, who has looked good all season. So I think it's going to be interesting how he rotates that centre of the pitch. Nwaneri, I think, will definitely play in the right 8. Right wing, I think this is an easy one. He's not going to put Max Dowman in there. Nwaneri's already placed in the middle. So I think it's probably going to be Noni Madueke again. Really happy to see that. It's a very similar story up top. Victor Gyökeres, Havertz is not fit. I don't think he's going to start Trossard in there. And Gyökeres is a player who looks to be, touch wood, physically fit, robust, able to play a lot of games. And, we do have to protect him because a lot of his game is physicality. But I just don't see this being a game where we need to drop him. I think he looks good at the moment. And let's get him in there. Let's get him scoring goals. If he can bag another goal in this Athletic Club game, he'd go into the City game with a lot of confidence. And there'll be an opportunity to rest him against Port Vale, won't there? So why not do this? Why not keep him in? I think it's a different scenario for strikers. Midfielders cover a lot of ground. And of course, we know that with the pressing nowadays, strikers do cover a lot of ground. But if we were up in this game, we could probably afford to lower the intensity of our press and give Victor Gyökeres a break as well. So be interesting to see that. Of course, I've kind of committed Merino to 90 minutes, so they won't be able to do the swap, moving Merino forward. The reason I say that is because I've kind of said Norgard will come on for Rice to protect Rice. So it's going to be interesting how he balances all of those minutes across the squad. I think Gyökeres is the one who's more likely to stay on the pitch for longer. And let's get to left wing. I can't see Eze playing in this game. I think again they'll want to keep him fresh, sharp. And of course, it's an opportunity to get players into the team who are not playing so much at the moment. So I would expect to see Gabriel Martinelli play off the left wing. I think I'd probably pick Trossard if it was me. Just because I thought, Trossard came on and instantly made an impact. I think Martinelli needs some time away from the scrutiny of the Arsenal fans, and the mainstream media are starting to pick up on his poor form as well. I think Martinelli could do with just a run of coming on for 15 minutes, coming on for 20 minutes, not being the story of the game. If we win this game or we draw this game and Martinelli starts and doesn't produce, I say if we win this game, I meant if we win this game narrowly, God forbid we lose this game as well, and he doesn't produce, he becomes the story quite easily. So I think I would play Trossard because there isn't really any doubts about his output at the moment. But I don't think Mikel Arteta will go that direction. I think he's kind of created a pecking order in his head there. He knows that Trossard is a utility player across the front three and will come in and out when needed. I think Martinelli is his next man up on the left. So you kind of have a pecking order where Saka and Eze are the top two guys. Martinelli and Madueke on either side are the backups, with Trossard producing kind of that third man multifunctional player. So let's run through that whole lineup quickly. Raya in goal, Ben White at right back, Mosquera Gabriel at centre back, Miles Lewis Skelly at left back, Declan Rice in the 6 with Mikel Merino, Ethan Nwaneri in front of him, Noni Madueke right wing, Victor Gyökeres up front, Gabriel Martinelli left wing. A stacked bench to go to. I think we'll see Norgard come on, providing he is fit enough to be on the bench, of course. I think we will most likely see Hincapié come on at some point. We will see our new players in abundance, and we'll probably see the likes of Trossard and Eze get some minutes to see how fit they are. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how we line up. My ultimate conclusion, I think, from this preview podcast is that we should have plenty depth to rotate and still be quite comfortable against Athletic Bilbao. They are missing their star man, so we should go and exploit that and show our real quality and show, I guess, the difference between the Premier League. Second place in the Premier League and fourth place in La Liga is a world apart, in my opinion. So we need to go and show that and demonstrate that tomorrow evening. Like I said, guys, I will do my very, very best to bring an instant reaction after the game. It might not be possible, but what definitely will happen is on Wednesday there'll be a match review podcast where I go through the key moments, the star performers, all of that sort of stuff. Like I said at the start, if you don't want to miss any of that, make sure you hit follow wherever you get your podcasts from so that you don't miss a beat of the Arsenal Unfiltered coverage. All that's left to say is thank you so much for following, thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.